In this example, we're going to look at how we can query our database and return back results from our database. Previous example, we looked at how we can insert into it. So we don't need any of this, and I'm going to just copy this over and place it here so it's not visible, not interfering, but I still will use that query, so that query variable. So what we want to do is we want to select, and if we want to select everything from the database, we use the asterisk. If we want to be specific what we want to select, we can specify those column names that we want to select as well. But usually for these types of examples, I'm just going to select everything out of that database. So now I need to specify the database. So I'm selecting everything from test area, and that's going to be the query. So it's going to be really basic and straightforward. And we've already seen this here, select all from test area. So we already have an example of what the output should be. So we see that we're getting all of the results being returned back. Let's go back into here. And so that's the query. And so we've got our connection here to the object-oriented query MySQL. And instead of inserted, we just need to write selected. Now, once we do actually have a selection here, we can do something with that as well. So we've got that selected, so we know that there's some content there that we've selected because that result is coming back as a Boolean value of true. And this is where we can add in our loop. It's going to be similar to what we had here, so I'm going to just copy this over, and it's going to be another while loop, and it's just a slight variation in the syntax here. So we know that we got this result here. So I'm actually going to get rid of this echo of the result. So we know that we've got that result object, and what we want to do is we want to fetch the associated data, and then this part here can be the same. So let's try this out and see if it works. So go over to there, refresh it, and we see that we are in fact able to query through and return back all the results. And much like the previous example, we can select out, so we can do something like where, and if we want to do ID equals 5 or something like that, so we can return back all of them that have an ID of 5. So that's getting, so I should get rid of this selected because we know we're returning back data. So we know that ID is 5, company, the new company, and of course we can get the rest of this data as well. So we can get back contact, we can get back size, and so on. So I'm going to maybe add that in quickly just to demonstrate. So company, so we had our contact at the company, and just got to define it by the column name, so the contact there. Let's go out and refresh it. So now we've got our contacts and so on. So same thing here, where we can limit it as well, so we can limit it to 3. So try that out and see how that works out. So we want to only limit it to 3 results. We can do that as well, and we have some options here on what we can manipulate, how the returns look like in the query. Even add in more complex parts into here. So if we want to order it by, so we have an option to specify order by, and maybe we want to do order by ID, which is the default. So we're probably not going to see much change there, but we do have an option to flip it upside down. So if we order by ID, we can do ascending or we could do descending. So when we flip it upside down, we see that we're only returning 3, but now we're starting at the bottom of the list. So we're starting down here, so returning 1, 2, 3, as opposed to ascending, where we're returning 1, 2, 3 of that limit of that list. And within the SQL website, there's just a ton of documentation on all these different things that you can do and different ways to return back that content. So there's all the different variations here of SQL, and you can really search through here. So we've got our manual here, And if you want to go through, there's a tutorial here, and it'll give you even more examples of how to. So we've got queries into the data using the database. We can go down here, retrieving information from the database. So we've got all of this information. We can sort rows. So this is the one that we were just looking at, that ascending, descending, selecting particular columns, particular rows, selecting data. We've got pattern matching, and this is also something that we can just simply copy out these query strings, pop them in, and update our selection process. So in the next lesson, we're going to be looking at how we can, we've looked at how we can insert into the database. We're going to look at how we can, we're looking how we can select the data, and we're going to look at how we can update and how we can delete data from the database using the MySQL object-oriented method. So that's all coming up in the next set of lessons.